Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let me get my camera on me so I don't have too many problems. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sorry about the delay. Having a little technical difficulties over here, but you know how it is. Woo, I am in New York, so you know we're under like 18 inches of snow right now. It's crazy. I can't even move my car. I got to go downstairs and take like a building's worth of snow off my car. How's everybody? Vandy, what's going on? Secret squirrel. The secret is out. You're in here. We got a lot to talk about, right? Mm, we got a lot to talk about. Um, good morning, Secret Squirrel. What's going on? It's funny, the StreamYard's live stream isn't keeping up with the actual live stream, so going back and forth. Let me get out of this. Stop this. All right. Yes, I got my toothbrush back, so you know how it is. I'm trying to do these like Wednesday afternoon streams, Wednesday morning streams, because I used to do these streams on Saturday, but I can't do them on Saturday anymore because the kids all of a sudden get up at 6 a.m. on Saturday now. So I have no time to do anything. You know, makes things for the kids. So I think I'm gonna be doing these things on when was it Tuesdays and Thursdays at about 10 o'clock. So yes, toothbrush. Meme of three. What's going on? Let's get let's get to it. So today is the big hearing, right? The big hearing for Halo Beauty. Make sure my phone is off. And it's just so weird. This case, this Halo Beauty case, I just don't know what to say about it. It's kind of crazy, and I know there's a lot of people who probably on my stream who don't know these people, who don't know this case. So for those of you who are waiting for my little update of the case before you jump to either Uncivil Law or Emily to watch the actual hearing, because they're going to be going over the hearing. What I wanted to do was break it down so we understand where we're at in the case, what this hearing is supposed to be about, and I'll give you my thoughts on the relative strength of the case and what I think. But first, I'm going to say this. This case, Halo Beauty case, is insane. It is one of the I thought the non sequitur showcase, which is another YouTube case, was insane. This blows that out of the water like 2,000 times. So let me start. First, I'm gonna share my screen so you can see. So first, this is the plaintiff. Let me bring up the plaintiff. Our plaintiff is Tati Westbrook. So you can see her channel. Here it is. This is Tati Westbrook's channel. Let me go here so you can see. And Tati Westbrook has 9 million subscribers, right? 9 million subscribers. Matter of fact, her last video, if we do this, let's make sure I sort by newest. Her last video was 7 months ago. So this is 9 million sub channel. And her last video was 7 months ago. So this is Tati Westbrook. And Tati Westbrook and her husband, James Charles, and her company are suing another YouTuber, Nikki P. What's up? Hello, everybody. Hello, Nate the lawyer. Hope you're all having a great day. Lawyer. Yes. Good to see you again, Nikki P. So this is who's suing. Now, who are they suing? Glad you asked, because now you get to see who they're suing. They're suing another YouTuber. Now, this other YouTuber is not as popular, and this other YouTuber's name is Katie Joy Paulson, and her channel goes without a crystal ball. Now, she has 135,000 subs, and you can even see by the amount of views that she gets. She's getting maybe 10,000, 27,000 views on her channel. So she's got to maybe look like an average between 10 to 30,000 views per video. Around, it's in that ballpark, even below. But she's being sued for defamation, right? Because she said some bad things about these people. So she's being sued for defamation. So the first thing, obviously, is what the hell is a channel with 9 million subs suing and I hate to say this, a nobody channel, right? For 137,000 subs. It's great to have 100,000 subs. I wish I had 100,000 subs. But let's just be honest here. 100,000 subs does not, is nothing compared to 9 million subs, right? So you're punching down. We're punching down in this case. But there's been a lot of history because Katie Joy Paulson, who I'll put back on the screen, Katie Joy Paulson has been saying things about these people for years. And I'm talking about years. I'm talking about, if you read the complaint, she's been, looking at this, looking at that. Like she's been really, really, really going in on these people, right? She's been really, 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 looking in their past, pulling up birth certificates and all this stuff and reporting on this particular story. So they sent her, I think, 4 cease and desist. Like there's a whole bunch of backstory. But at the end of the day, this is a defamation case, right? It's a defamation case. So that's where we're at now. Defamation. Tati Westbrook is suing this YouTuber. Fine. So when you're dealing with a defamation case, the first thing in this particular case, we had pre-litigation stuff happen, right? The pre-litigation stuff is the motions to the cease and desist letters. Those are things of pre-litigation. You send those things out to try to avoid litigation. That didn't work, right? It didn't work. So then you have the next level, which is now litigation, right? So I want to be very clear where we're at in this litigation. Where the case stands today. So everyone understands why this is so unusual. Okay. So in litigation, you first have the complaint. And the complaint is me alleging, or the plaintiff alleging, that the defendant did something bad. You, defendant, you did something bad. And in this case, oops, this thing is not updating at all. In this case, you have Tati Westbrook. You have Tati Westbrook saying, you, Katie Joy Paulson, did a bad thing, right? And here's the bad things that you did. And they lay them out. Here are all the bad things you did. You bad person. You very, very bad person. Okay. So generally, most people would suspect that Katie Joy Paulson would respond and say, no, I didn't do any of those things. And I'm not a bad person, right? I didn't do any of those things and you're wrong. But that's not where we're at in this particular case. Tati Westbrook has made her allegations. So at this time, supposedly, this is what the motion to dismiss was. Supposedly, we're at the stage where Katie Joy Paulson has then responded to that and said, well, hold on. Even if everything you're saying is true, by law, your case should be dismissed. Now think about that. The place in the litigation that we're at, the Katie Joy Paulson officially has not denied any of the allegations. She hasn't officially said these allegations are not true. That will come with an answer. Katie Joy Paulson has not submitted an answer, right? So she hasn't said these allegations are not true. What she has said, right, is that if these allegations are true, Tati Westbrook in her case should be dismissed as a matter of law. Think about it this way. Let's say in most places, defamation has a 1-year limit, right? There's a 1-year timetable on when you could bring your defamation case. So in this particular case, Katie Joy Paulson has said some things. And let's say she said them 3 years ago. Tati Westbrook will bring her defamation case and say, you said these bad things, I'm suing you. And then instead of just answering and saying, I didn't say any of that stuff, she can say, well, hold on. You had 1 year to sue, and now it's 3 years later. Another suit, if you follow my channel, there's another suit that's actually happened to, and this was David Silverman versus Matt Dillahunty, the big atheist guys cases. That you had the former president of American Atheists, suing Matt Dillahunty, who's a big person in the atheist sphere. They were suing each other, but the statute of limitations ran out. So in their motion to dismiss, they didn't deny anything. They said, well, the statute of limitations ran out, and that case was dismissed. So that's what you're talking about. You're saying the complaint is not legally sufficient to move forward. So in this case, in the Tati Westbrook case, that's where we're at, right? Just so we're all clear, we've had allegations be made. Katie Joy Paulson did something bad, and Katie Joy Paulson has not said, I didn't do any of that stuff. She's saying your complaint is insufficient as a matter of law. So there are a couple of different things that she's requested. First, she said it's insufficient based on jurisdiction. The court doesn't have authority over Katie Joy Paulson to make her pay anything or even to make her go into court. That's one of the issues. And some other ancillary issues. She actually didn't challenge the defamation, which was insane amongst itself, but that's where we're at right now. So let me just make it very clear. The reason why this doesn't make most of the stuff doesn't, and I mean doesn't make any sense, is because right now everyone's arguing about whether this stuff is true or not, right? Whether Katie Joy Paulson now is arguing that these people are liars, right? That Tati Westbrook is lying, but that is irrelevant based on where we're at in the pleadings. We are at a motion to dismiss. You can't argue with the facts. You're actually saying all the facts are true. But now we're in an argument. But now Katie Joy and her defense team is now arguing about the facts, which again makes obviously no sense. Let me get these super chats out. I'm lost. Could you say it all again? I'll try. Katie Joy is playing 40 chess, 120 IQ moves. It's possible. It's possible. Hey, Drag. Oh my God. Thanks for the super chats. I don't know what they're playing. So now this is where things go off the rails. And this is what I've been trying. Me and Uncivil Law have been trying to explain to everybody. And everybody keeps saying, oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about. But this is what we've been trying to explain to everybody. So at this stage in the litigation, Katie Joy Paulson is saying, yeah, everything Halo Beauty said, it's true. So what? She doesn't have a case. So we were shocked. I was shocked, like totally shocked to see Katie Joy Paulson put in an affidavit. Oh, get the super chat. Good morning, Nate. I'm at work. I need to be entertained. Hey, I'm trying. So let me make sure we're very clear. So Tati now. So generally at this stage in the game, you don't see a defendant put in any type of statements, affidavits, anything like that. Why? Because they don't need to, right? They're not arguing that what the plaintiff is saying isn't true. You don't need to put that stuff up there, right? It's irrelevant to the case at this moment in time. It'll be relevant later, but it's not relevant now because there's no argument. So the fact that Katie Joy Paulson has put in four declarations, right? I think it's four. It's 3 or 4. It's insane, right? You make you think, like, why would your lawyer need to put in any? Because there's no reason to argue with the facts. Another thing that I'm going to say about the defense strategy, which again is head scratching, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm trying to break this down as simply as possible. But another defense strategy is them attack, like for instance, Lorianne's declaration that she was cool with Katie Joy Paulson and they were friends and this is what they need. And then Katie Joy and her attorney, Mr. Brown, coming back and saying, no, I was never friends with her. This. I would have responded, well, KJ, it's irrelevant if Lorianne is telling the truth or not at this moment in time, right? It's irrelevant. Why? Because you're accepting everything Tati's saying is true anyway. So if Lorianne says we were friends and we were hooked up and all this other stuff was true, it's irrelevant to say that what she's saying is a lie, because at this stage in the proceeding, you're saying if everything she's saying is true, she still doesn't have a case. So that's what's perplexing to us. Now, when the only thing that can happen when a defendant puts in affidavits and declarations at this stage in the litigation is that they can open themselves up to be impeached. And that's what's been happening. Katie Joy has been putting forward these declarations and they've been impeaching her. Oh, she's lied here. She's lied there. That just doesn't make any, that's the reason why you'd say, why would you put in any declarations to give them that ammunition to say that, you've lied, you made a mistake, you're untrustworthy, to impeach your credibility when it is unnecessary to do so at this point in time. It's just unnecessary, right? And it only hurts your case. It can only hurt your case. Now, I know a lot of you may be thinking, well, when should she do this? When should she fight back? When should she challenge these allegations, right? Well, you would challenge it. Let's say the judge says, okay, your motion to dismiss is nonsense, right? There's enough here to go forward. We have jurisdiction and we're going to go forward with the trial. Then you have the next stage. Oops, my viewfinder inactive. That's right. So then you'd go to the next stage. And the next stage of the litigation is The next stage of litigation would be now you have the answer, right? I deny all these things. And then you put forward your evidence to show you why I'm denying this, this is BS, this is BS. And then you go through a discovery phase, right? One person, you guys change information, you guys do like a little fact finding. And then at the end of that, then you have a motion for summary judgment, right? Before you go to trial saying, hey, we now have gone through all this, right? I denied all this stuff. Now we've brought some evidence forward. We've had discovery. And after all that, here it is. There's nothing here. I want you to dismiss it because Lorianne is not telling the truth. That's where the appropriate place to do that would be. And then as an example for that, you have the Nicholas Sandman case. In Nicholas Sandman case, you had that actually happen where the judge, where they survived the motion to dismiss, they went through discovery, and then there was a motion to dismiss, right? Motion for summary judgment that happened. So that's what's happening here. So at this stage in the trial, we shouldn't have any of these declarations, right? For context, think about this. The what is it called? The defamation case between Tucker Carlson and the Playboy Playmate model. Who was her name? Karen McDougal. They had 40 filings in that case. 40 filings. And that case went all the way through a motion to dismiss and was dismissed based on a motion to dismiss. In this case, we're almost at 50. And we're going to a status conference. This, again, it makes no sense why we have so many filings in the case. And everybody's going to tell you, it boggles the mind. So now let me mention a couple of things to you. I'm hoping everybody's following me to this point so they can understand where we're at with this Hate Old Beauty, Tati Westbrook, and why this is so unusual, right? Why this is so unusual. So what's a status conference? Because I've gotten a lot of questions about a status conference. Now, it's different. I'm assuming it's the same everywhere, but it all depends on where you go. Some people, like say if you're in family court, they're a mandatory status conference. If you're in criminal court, we've had them before. In civil court, they make it, but generally a status conference is what it sounds like. It's usually something quick, it's usually simple, and it's the court letting both sides know what's going on in the case, where we're at, what's expected of you as an attorney. It sets dates for motions and for trial. Here's the date for trial. What's a great date for a motion? You settle a lot of administrative issues that you'd have when you're doing a case like that. And then everybody gets in the same room with the judge, and the judge can act as a referee for any of the BS that happens, right? So you get some BS that happens, and the judge will act as the referee. Don't do that. Don't do this. It's generally a very simple process, right? That's what the status conferences. They're usually short. I've been in some that were 5 minutes before, and then I've been in some that were an hour, because status conferences are usually short, to the point, nothing to do. But here, this status conference is like the mother of all status conferences, right? It's like the mother of all status conferences. So this status conference is supposedly, let me just read some of the things that the status conference is going to possibly tackle. We got witness intimidation, right? We got death threats to counsel, to the lawyers. We got threats to the lawyers' children. We got threats to lawyers who are covering the case, who have nothing to do with the case. They're covering the case. We have death threats to YouTubers, other YouTubers who just following the case. Then we have documents under seal for people's medical conditions. And then we have a whole 300 pages of Twitter war. And this is before Katie Joy Polson has even denied the allegations, right? She hasn't denied these things are actually true. As a matter of law, she's accepting what Tati's saying. And we have all of this to decide today. So I would expect this type of stuff to happen in a mafia case, right? In a case in which, you got the Gambino crime family, and you got somebody who's trying to snitch them out or something like that. You don't find this on a motion to dismiss for a defamation case. You just don't find this. So I don't know what people are expecting from this status conference, but the status conference is supposed to just say, okay, this is when we're going to do everything. This is how everything's going to do. This status conference looks like it's going to be crazy because you got to do, well, somebody's threatening our witnesses. Why the hell do we have witnesses, right? This is a motion to dismiss. We're at step one. We haven't even gotten past the motion to dismiss. So I don't know where this case is going to go. I just know that what's happening in this case makes no sense. Now, if I was a judge, I would just say, listen, number one, these threats have to go to law enforcement, right? We got to get law enforcement involved and take all this stuff out, right? We got to get law enforcement involved, right? We have to get law enforcement involved to stop all these threats and find the people who are doing these things. That's what we have to do. Number two, I don't want any more filings. Think about this, the past 500 to 600 pages of filings, 500 to 600 pages. Think about this, people. The last 500 to 600 pages, say it with me, 500 to 600 pages that have been submitted to this court. I've only found the word jurisdiction in those documents one time, and it was in a footnote. The goddamn word jurisdiction was in a footnote out of the last 500 pages submitted. What the hell are we doing? What the hell is this case about? If I'm the judge, I'm like, why are you having my law clerk read 500 pages of BS? This is a motion to dismiss. None of your paperwork has even said the word jurisdiction. We're 900 pages in. Jurisdiction is one time in a footnote? Insanity. So I'm thinking the judge, which is a she, I think she's going to, this is maybe some laying down the law. I think I'll get 50-50 that she tells everybody to shut up. You may not get a gag order, but you possibly can. Because it looks like Saltsy's been involved in all this stuff. So I think you could possibly get a gag order, but I'm not really betting on that. But I do believe the judge is going, it's about time to stop, because now you're messing with the judge's people, right? You keep turning in this mountains and mountains of precipice and all this other BS. That's irrelevant. Irrelevant. Again, I'm going to say it. All of the stuff that's been turned in by Saltsy, Saltsy, and just to be clear, Saltsy is one of the best defamation attorneys on the planet. But everything that's been turned in has been essentially nonsense at this particular moment in time, especially understanding the standard in which we're trying to evaluate this. Sorry, someone said my voice goes up 3 octaves. Oh, I'm sorry. I think this mic gotta soften this mic. I don't want to get too many. My range is going too crazy. So let me see. Somebody asked when's I think it's at 11:30 or 12. Let me see. Let me pull up my brother Uncivil Law, because he's going live with it. Let me see when he's going live with this thing. So somebody had asked. Come on, Uncivil Law. And I know Emily's going live with it too. Let me see. Uncivil Law. Uncivil Law is going live with this at 12:50. So I think it's 1 o'clock. That's when the hearing is. They're going to cover it on Zoom. So for those of you who don't know, the way they're going to do it is he can't play the audio. He can only listen to it. So he's going to listen to the audio and convey what's being said. So I'm actually going to see how they do it. Because federal court has these weird rules about they don't like to be on camera. They don't like their audio, and plus they want you to buy the transcripts and buy all the stuff from them. So that's their little money making scheme. So we'll see. It's about two and a half hours. Yeah, somebody said 2.5 hours from now. So it's at 1 o'clock. So we'll get to see. And I think Emily's not going live. She's going to provide her commentary afterwards. Okay, so Uncivil Law is going live, and Emily's going to provide her commentary afterwards. So I'm going to have to catch replays. I have a meeting at the same time. I hear that. KJ also told her subs to defend her on a live, vile threats on Twitter. Yeah, I think this is the reason why the judge may have to step in and say it's time, because that's what the judge's job is. You're all acting like children, right? You're acting like grown children. So let me do this. You children, Mr. Salty, Mr. Brownie, you guys are acting like children. Let's stop this. This has nothing to do with a motion to dismiss, right? It's all going to be irrelevant if there's no jurisdiction. So let's, this needs to be taken care of. Threats, violence, that needs to be taken care of. That's a law enforcement issue. But now, do I have jurisdiction over KJ? That's the answer. Hold on, let me get the phone. My phone is ringing in the background. Thank you. This is my assistant. Thank you. All right. So let's see. Right now, we're going to have to see what happens. We're going to have to see what happens at 1 o'clock. So those are my predictions. Now, if I were the judge, I would be setting this up like we got to have this. We have to talk about, this motion. I don't understand why we wouldn't get, why they haven't. They should have scheduled the motion to dismiss. If you can schedule this status conference so quick, the motion to dismiss should be the motion to dismiss should be something that should be like this, right? It should, maybe I'm hoping like next week. I don't know what's taking the judge so long. All the 600 pages of filings have nothing to do with motion to dismiss. You only have like 4 or 5 documents, so you can make your what's it called, your judgment on that. But we'll see, because this case is insane. Now, some people have asked me recently, what do I feel about the chances of the case and who do I think should win? So I'm going to be extremely honest with you. First, I do know Katie. We are we friends still? I consider her. I'm still cool with her. I wouldn't now call her a friend, because I know she had some issues with the way I was covering the case. So I'm cool with Katie. I've even spoken with her recently, but not spoken, but DM'd her. So we're cool, but it is what it is. So take that. So I want you guys just to be informed that me and Katie, I've known this woman for years. So just take that for what it is. We're not having tea and crumpets together, but we do. We have had conversations. So just so everybody knows, that's where I'm coming from. But now the strength of this case. When I first read this case, I'm just going to be honest with you. I thought the case was full of shit. I thought the case was BS. Looking through that complaint, it just seemed weak to me. And it didn't seem weak because I am such friends with KJ where I wanted it to be weak. It just seemed weak based on my understanding of defamation. Remember when KJ got me and you confused? Yes, she did. She got me and Drag confused. That's true. Oh, you're going to get me in trouble, Drag, but she did get us confused. So check this out. So when I'm reading through the complaint, one thing that you guys should all know is that defamation is extremely hard to overcome here in the United States. It just is. Now, it's not impossible. It's just hard, especially if you are a public figure, right? If you're a public figure. Now, a public figure is somebody, who, you're talking about like the Kim Kardashians, Tom Cruises, celebrities are generally known as public figures. That's why the National Enquirer can say crazy stuff about them and not be held liable, right? You can see those headlines, Tom's House of Horrors. There was even one headline in the National Enquirer. What is it called? Stevie Wonder Can See, right? Let me pull this up. Stevie Wonder Can See. This was a headline for the National Enquirer that Stevie Wonder can see, and they published it, and he couldn't sue because I'm on the phone. I'm on the live stream. Let me see if I can find that and pull this thing up for you guys. All right, here it is. This is just so I can show you how tough defamation is, so you guys can see that it's no joke. If you're a public figure, it's really, really hard to win a defamation case. So here's the headline, right, from the National Enquirer: Vegas killer cult, blah blah blah. Stevie Wonder can see again, right? Here's what's it called? Jen Gardner demands drug test from Ben. Julian, I need a miracle to beat breast cancer. This was like 2 years ago. So this is what they say, right? This is what now you would say, like, hold on, if this stuff is fake, why can't they sue, right? Stevie Wonder should sue their butts off. He's a blind man, and they're saying he's lying, right? He can see. No, actual malice. That's how strong actual malice is. Actual malice is so hard to overcome. We're a blind man can't sue when somebody says that he can see, right? That's obviously a false statement. But so someone in the chat has just said, well, James is not a public figure. I disagree. I disagree vehemently. I think James is a public figure. I think James is a huge public figure that people are trying to pretend that is not a public figure. Now, my you know what? Let me show you why I believe James is a public figure. Let me just not talk it out. Let me show you. Let's look at Halo Beauty's channel, right? And first, let's look at this. So on her channel, she has, this is a 700,000 viewed video. James actually was doing solo videos on her channel, right? This is Tati Westbrook's channel. So, and he has so many videos of him on that channel. Let me just show it to you. And let's not forget, he's a business partner. Hold on, let me show you this. So even when you go through her channel, let's look at this. Testing mass. She's with her husband, James. James' fantastic man memories. Here's the wedding. Here's them at the beach in Maui. Here they are in, here's another one. James' favorite guy products. He's putting on makeup. He's doing this, 1.4 million, 700,000. If people who are saying that this guy is not a public figure, where are they getting this from, right? How can this guy, these one or two videos have more views than my entire channel? And he's got solos on his channel. And he's not a public figure? Like, come on. I think it's an argument, but I don't think it's a convincing argument. Not based on this channel and the 9 million subs and the millions of views and their partners in crime and all this. No. I don't want to say partners in crime. Partners in the business. No, he's a public figure. If you can say I'm a public figure, or even say that Katie Jo Paulson's a public figure, then this guy's obviously a public figure. If he is blind now, $2 from Tati. If he is blind, how would he know? how would he know to sue checkmate? That's true, right? He couldn't read it, right? Somebody had to read it to him. Oh, so for the people who are saying that James Westbrook is not a public figure, I respectfully disagree. Not only do I think he's a public figure, I think he is a public figure, right? I don't think there's any doubt, right? I think when you look at these channels, free stuff, there he is again, episode 21, marriage proposal, testing weird makeup products, I'm peeling the face, boyfriend makeup challenge, fiance does my makeup, I'm getting married, wedding is canceled. There he is. Here he is again. Like, come on, people. If people are telling you that he's not a public figure, then I don't know. Then I just respectfully disagree. Give me 1 second. Oof. So let's just be clear. Is James a public figure with all those videos and all that press and business partners and lawsuit? Don't forget the other lawsuit in California. He's being sued too. So I would say this case is going to turn. I think Tati Westbrook's a public figure. I think her case is thrown. You throw her case out, right? I think Halo Beauty, they're public figures. The company is going to be held as a public figure, right? Their defamation case is thrown out. I honestly think that, yeah, James Westbrook is a public figure. And I think his case gets a lot weaker, tremendously a lot weaker, when you look at whether he's a public figure or not. I think people have been trying to avoid or trying to give this case a lot more hope. But no, it just is what it is. If somebody in the chat who doesn't believe so, can they make an argument that he's not? Can they make an argument that he's not? Looking at all those videos, all those times he's on camera, the fact that he's her business partner, the fact that he's doing all this press. Oof. I don't know. Or, is it clear that he's absolutely not a public figure? No. Mm-mm. I think he is. I would say he's a public figure, unfortunately. Yeah. Shelly, you disagree. I hear you. But he's a public figure. He's a public figure. And think about, any other YouTuber who's got less views, less, you would call them a public figure. I think Katie Joy Paulson is a public figure, right? I would say she's a public figure, right? She's out there promoting herself to the public. And that's what a public figure is. If you're out there seeking attention from the public, and you have to, the law more or less explains to you that you have to take the good with the bad, right? If you're out there promoting yourself, I'm this, I'm that, doing all this press, doing all these things to get public attention, you have to take the good with the bad. So people are going to say great things about you, and people are going to say shitty things about you. But that's what you have to do if you're a public figure. That's just keeping it 100, Tatted. He might be. What's the definition of atheism? Oh, here we go. You're going to have Steve, the other guy, Steve, is going to do like a 10-hour video on his wrong, whatever arguments he is. But yeah, it's true. I don't know. I got to look it up in the dictionary. Thanks for $2, Tatted. Steve A became a member. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Thanks for becoming a member. Thank you. So I'm just, I don't know. I'm looking in the chat. I'm trying to see if anybody's making an argument that he's not a public figure, right? So here is someone. So the defamation has the possibility of thrown out, but what about all the new information in the case? Again, I think you came in earlier. Do you think KJ should be facing serious charges because of all the new allegations? Again, they're allegations. I think they're irrelevant to the stage of the litigation we're at now. I think they're going to be relevant later on if this litigation is, but to where we're at now, I think they're irrelevant. And I think if these things are true and they're criminally true, then yeah, you got a problem, because that's a whole nother, then you have, the law enforcement and all that stuff take care of it. So, but in this particular case, for where we're at now in this case, all these allegations are seemingly irrelevant. So we'll see. Here it is. Even if James, for legal purposes, public figure, I think Katie's statements about him murdering his mother are definitely indicative of malice. No, the statement isn't. And this is actually interesting. I looked at the complaint again, right? I went to the complaint and I looked at it and I said, because everybody kept saying that Katie said that James killed his mother, right? So I was looking for that. I was like, all right, now the reason why I went to the complaint to look for that, some people say, well, look in this video, no. You go to the complaint and you look at the complaint. And why? Because in a defamation case, if you're saying someone said something bad about you, right, and you're suing them over, you have to put that in the complaint to tell the court, this is exactly what the person said about me. And because the person said these words that harmed me, and that's the reason why they owe me money, right? So if you don't have those words, exact thing the person said in the complaint, then your case can be dismissed, right? I can't say you defamed me and I tell a court what the defamatory statements were. That just doesn't make any sense. So when I look through the complaint to see if Katie Joy Paulson said that James Charles murdered his mother, that is just not there. Even in the complaint, Salty said you have to make an inference, right? You have to make an inference. She said this, and we are inferring that she meant this. That's not actual malice. That's just not. And actual malice is saying that she knew for a fact that it was wrong and said it anyway, or she recklessly disregarded the truth. But I think a lot of people don't understand too. In this particular case, let's not forget there's, for instance, with James, the murdering of the mother, I think if you just look at the statement isn't good enough. That's not enough to, I think that the statement, I should pull up the statement because that will probably even be better. Does the lamp agree with you? No, the stupid lamp doesn't agree with you. They did a 2-hour secrets, girl. Let me pull up the statement because that's going to be helpful here because everybody keeps saying that she made the statement. And again, if it's not in the complaint, Paul's son. If it's not in the complaint, if that allegation or whatever they're saying, right? They have to have the exact words that they're suing for in the complaint. Let me pull this up. I want to show you guys exactly so you guys don't blame me for not bringing it up. Do I not have it here? Plaintiff's motion. No. I thought I had it on this computer. Nope. Not this one. Oh, this is the latest one. I think I'm going to have to. I should be on this computer now. Sorry about this, guys. I'm trying to look it up. I'm just trying to look at the complaint because I want to show you guys exactly the exact words because I don't want people to think that I'm going crazy here. All right, so I have the complaint, the jury demand pulled up. Let me go back to this so I can see you guys. All right, so I'm pulling up. Come on. And I'm going to Control F this. Oh, mother. All right. So I'm just going to read the exact wording from the complaint. So here's one statement. She says, he hasn't changed. He stole from his dying mother and took out loans in her name while she was sick, and then stole $340,000 from a lender. Now that could all be false, right? So we're saying all that's true, right? That's where we're saying all of that which she said is true. Now you have to prove actual malice. She knew it was false and said it anyway. That's the level at which you're at. She also said there's a whole bunch of stuff about stealing from the dying mother, but it's not exact. That he has a shady background. Now, this is the statement I think everybody's talking about. In addition, she has stated that the court records show that he took his mom off oxygen. Now, this is the part everybody's missing, to imply that he intentionally killed his mother. So she says he took it. So Katie Joy's statement is James took his mother off oxygen, and then Salty says to imply he intentionally killed his mother. So she never said that he killed his mother. She said that she was taking off oxygen, which is an inference. But again, she didn't. People are saying that she said he killed his mom, but this is not in this complaint. Another one, he engaged in criminal, including money laundering, stealing from plaintiffs, James' own mother, and intentionally causing plaintiffs' James' mother's death. That's again, but it's not like she's saying this. This is what they're saying that she's saying, right? These are what's implied in the statements that she made. So there's nowhere in here, right? There's nowhere in here where it seems that she directly says that he murdered her mother, right? He took her off life support. It's funny because it's not funny. A shame. My neighbor recently, their mom passed away, and she had to unfortunately take her mom off of life support. But if I said that she took her mom off life support, or she took her mom off oxygen, the next thing you couldn't still all of a sudden you're not saying I didn't imply that she killed her mom, right? She intentionally killed. No, that's a fact. She did that. And if this was in another lawsuit, I think in another lawsuit, some of these claims were made. So again, even if all this is true, right? We're saying even if all this is true, we still have to go over actual malice. Where did she get this from? How does she know these things are true? Why is she saying these things? What's the basis of it? Because you're talking about a real high standard. This is not negligence. We're talking about recklessly disregarding the truth, right? I don't think we have that here. I'm sorry, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Well, Nate's cool with Katie, so he's going to say this." Blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. I don't think they got a case. I think this case is well pleaded. It's well written. I just don't think it's as strong as most people are claiming it is or believing that it is. Now, that's my own personal opinion. I could be 100% wrong. Think of it this way. There are heart specialists. Like if I was a doctor, there are heart specialists, right? I could be a cardiac care physician. And I'm looking at, some a gastrointestinal issue, right? That's not my specialty, but I'm saying, it doesn't seem like what I think it is, from what I learned from law school. Now, from all, this jurisdiction could say, well, he's not they can have their own little rules. I don't know, right? I'm not, defamation is not my specialty, but from all the cases that I've read up on defamation, it seems like this case is not going anywhere just based on defamation. But you don't even have to ask me, if you want to ask someone else on civil law, believes the same thing. I know Emily is a little bit more bullish on the chances of this case, but I don't agree. I think this case, I honestly think Salty's just lucky that Brown is fighting this case, because this would have been going a lot differently if I was on it. It's just crazy. Nate the lawyer, you have reviewed the case where James' sister sued him and the claims were made in that suit. Yes, I have seen it. That's the Hawaii suit. And let me see. Yes, just so what everybody understands is that Katie Joy was actually repeating claims that were in the Hawaii lawsuit. So let me pull that up. Let me see if I can pull it. I think I had that pulled up. That Hawaii lawsuit was, so all the stuff about the mom was alleged in another lawsuit in 2014 Hawaii, and he was accused by his sister of saying all this stuff. Now, also in 2016 in the California case, a man named William Hawk sued James, and he had made these accusations about fraud and all this other stuff in that case. And then let's not forget about the Clark Swanson case in 2020, where a lot of these allegations that James was a bad businessman, that he took money from these people or whatever, and the fraud allegations, all that stuff was inside all these cases. So when you now look at James' history, how many times he's been sued, he had one judgment for fraud against him. You have, for all these cases and all these lawsuits and all this fraud, and someone says he's a bad businessman, he's been found guilty of X before, this. To say that actual malice has been overcome, I think I'm just going to say it. I don't think it's here. I think Katie has an easy win, but I think that she's possibly, I think the funniest thing about this case, I think Katie Joy Paulson has the easier win, but I think she may lose the case because of bad lawyering. I think if she loses the case, it's going to be in bad lawyering, because I think just based on the merits, it's an easy win, I suspect. But again, it just is what it is. I don't know why her lawyer is going through all this crap, but it just is what it is. Nate, women are mama bears, not only to their children, but also their husband. Don't ever go after a strong woman's hubby. Just a fact. Possibly. Yeah. But again, this is, we're reading legal documents. Maybe you're right. Nate, not about the win. So you don't think it's about the win, huh? Interesting. So I don't know. Does anybody out there really think that there's no, because I know there's a lot of people saying James is not a public figure, right? James is not a public. Is there people out there who really don't think James, make an argument, Let me know, type something in the chat. I don't think, I think I could make a compelling argument that James Westbrook is a public figure, that's been sued a whole bunch of times for a whole bunch of stuff. I think those claims could easily be made. Breaking news. Sued by Brown. Uh-oh. Defamation. But I'll zoom into a secret squirrel. I don't know. I'm asking, people, can you become a public figure just by association? I don't think this is just by association now. I think he's got full videos on that channel, right? He's a partner in the business. This is not, just by association. And you can be a limited public figure in the sense that, like for Nicholas Salmon was found to be a public figure, but only for that instance. Let's say if something happens that's newsworthy, then you're a public figure for that limited circumstance. And there's rules and stuff for that. But yes, so it's possible that you're not a public figure in general, but because something happened that's newsworthy, then you could be a public figure in that unique situation. So I think even that, I think you might even have that here. The legal definition of public, an individual entity that has acquired fame, notoriety, or has participated in a particular public controversy. Well, what do you think? Do you think James is not? I'm asking. I think James fits that. I think James is a public figure, and I think they're going to have a problem. Joe A.D., Nathan Lawyer, how much do you estimate Cable's legal fee? Ooh, this is a good question. How much do you think? How much would you estimate KJP's legal fees at this point? And how much do you think that will be the end of the case? Win, lose, or draw? That's a good question. I would say, based on all the filings, because don't forget, it's not your legal fees, especially on the defense side, is going to be based on time, right? The time you put in. So average legal fees is usually about what? And again, everywhere it's going to be different, but I'm seeing about $250 to upward and up an hour for legal fees. So I'm just saying, let's just take it at the lowest possible scale. Let's take it at $250 an hour. You have all these videos to watch. You have the Twitter. Remember, he downloaded the whole Twitter. He has to read all that stuff. He has to talk to witnesses, emails, all that stuff. You're talking about a lot of work here. This could easily be in the tens of thousands of dollars. I wouldn't be surprised if you got $15,000 retainer. That's almost dried up. This is a lot. This is a lot. Gene, you got a super chat? I'll scroll back up. There's a lot. There is a lot. There is a lot of I don't see your super chat, Gene. Right. Oh, here it is. Gene says, do you think the judge will enact a gag order? It's possible. It's possible. I'm honestly split 50-50 because a gag order is an extreme remedy. Everybody shut up. But I think we could be here, Gene. Gene, thank you for the super chat. Gene, I think we could be here. I think we could be easily here at the point where a judge says, hey, listen, just everybody shut up. Let's just get through this motion to dismiss, get you guys out of my courtroom, and then we'll move forward from here. I think this, I honestly think a gag order could. Just call me Exhibit E. Yeah, I think again, that's a great question. I'm sorry I missed it, but yeah, thank you, Gene. Gene, thank you too. I'm sorry I missed it, but that's a great question. I think so. I think you can have one, but again, it's really gonna, it's I'm 50-50 with that, but we'll see. I think it would be a good idea for a gag order, right? I think it would be the way this case is going. Saltsy's all on Twitter, doing his thing. Brown has been more or less quiet behind the scenes, but he's, chatting it up with everybody behind the scenes. And then KJP is doing her thing publicly. So you shut up. So a gag order would shut up both Saltsy about the case, right? He can't say anything more about the case. So he can't do his Twitter thing. He got to probably work around the DMs. And then you shut Katie up because she can't say anything anymore. So, and then we just have to rely on the filing. So I think it would probably be the best thing for the case, a gag order, but I don't know. It's still going to be 50-50. It all depends on how fed up the judge is. If I was the judge, I'd be fed up with this crap. Because don't forget, it's my staff that has to read. There's been thousands of pages of nonsense filed. Right? Thousands and thousands of pages of nonsense filed. Why is Emily Baker? Why is her name in the case multiple times? Right? Why is Emily D. Baker's name in the case multiple times? Matter of fact, there's been more YouTubers named in this case than any other case in history, right? Laurier, Katie Joy. There's a whole list of YouTubers. It's crazy. It's insane. I don't know. I don't know why Emily Baker is mentioned in this case so many times. It's like, what? Who cares? What? She said some nasty things. So who cares? Who cares? But poor Emily. Emily's my girl. I feel so bad for her I'm like, oh my God, girl. It's just it's so horrendous. They got your name all up in the streets, and all you're doing is reading documents, and now her name is in the case. You're like, what the hell? I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be laughing at her pain, but it's just insane. It's just like, this is how crazy this case was. I'm sorry. Please don't think any less of me because of this madness. And I do understand why people want Katie to lose. Like I'm not even going to pretend like I don't understand. I understand why you guys want Katie to lose. I understand. I'm drinking some coffee with my toothbrush. Mother Funk says, don't feel bad for Emily. She probably loves it. No, I don't think she loves having her kids, threatened, by some internet trolls. I don't think she loves that. I think that's sick, and I think it needs to be called out. But it's crazy. A question: if someone was a public figure and decides to leave the life, are they still a public figure? It all depends. It all depends. It all depends on what the issue is, because let's say you're a public figure and then you leave the life and go into seclusion. If the case is about something that happened when you were a public figure, possibly. But if the case is to deal with something that happens when you left the life, then you're talking about, well, you're strategically, you're a public figure for those instances, but not a public figure for these instances. So it really depends. And it depends on how the court treats it. But generally, if you're a public figure, you're a public figure, it's really fact dependent on what happens. So, but I think in this case, James, and because we're talking about Halo Beauty, we're talking about the case, we're talking about the YouTube, we're talking about the stuff that they were involved in. And I don't think there's any doubt that James was trying to get public attention, right? He's doing videos, he's trying to get public attention. And if that's true, as we've seen from the videos and stuff, then I don't think you can make an argument that he's not. Nate, I think Emily is strong enough to deal with it. Oh yeah, 110%. She's probably laughing at this too. With it a bunch. Watch out when you take a stick on a strong woman. Just saying. Amen to that, Lisa. Amen to that. No. I'm not worried about Emily. Emily definitely can handle herself. If anybody could, it's going to be her. But I just think it's just shocking that But the thing is that that's these YouTube cases, people. These YouTube cases are like that. I covered one, the non sequitur show between two guys, and next thing I know, I'm in the case. I'm in the case like one line because I did a video, and that video had literally just saying what the plaintiff said. Right, the plaintiff said a whole bunch of stuff, and I just cut the I went found a whole bunch of videos where he said something, and I cut it so you can see. He said one thing one day and said another thing the other day. So, and then when I put that video up, I uploaded it to my channel. And one of the defendant took the video and said, hey, look, here's the video. And now all of a sudden my name's in the case. And it's like one line. I got the video from a link from Nate Brody. Yeah, because I published the video publicly. It's up on my channel. So, and so I'm in the case, right? My name is in the case one time. But this is, with Emily, she's got her name in the case, she's got motion after, motion precipice after precipice with her name in it. So, but it happens, especially when you cover these YouTube cases, right? Because people are able to interact with you. And I think that's the difference here when you're doing this type of coverage, because, you interact with the fans, like I'm interacting with you guys. And I think this case is trying to be one on two fronts. There's two pieces to this case that I think a lot of people aren't understanding. The first part to this case is simple. It is a PR problem, right? Public relations. I think Katie and Halo want to win the public relations battle with this case. What does that mean? They want that complaint that Solcy wrote was one for defamation, right? It was one written. So when you read it and I read it and Emily read it and Uncivil Law read it, we would be shocked. Like, oh my God, she said all this. She did all this. Oh, and it was written very well for that purpose. Let's just not kid ourselves. That was a professionally written great complaint. No doubt about it. 110%. But now when we go back to now look at the legal, if it's legally sufficient, right? If it's legally sufficient, that's where we're at now. And that's where I think the complaint fails. But I think that Katie has done so much. Not Katie. I think Brown has fumbled the ball. He's at the 2-yard line. He just has to walk it in. It's like the I don't know if you guys are football fans, but the Patriots Super Bowl versus the Seattle Seahawks, we got the best running back in the league, and you're on a 1-yard line for the Super Bowl, and you decide to pass the ball, and you lose the game. That's what this is. Brown, I think, has an easy win, or he has an easy fight on his hands, and he's fumbled the ball. Think about this. This is a defamation case, and you got a motion to dismiss, and he doesn't even use the word defamation. Brown, if you're watching this, what are you doing? Come on, wake up, brother. Wake up. Wake up. Let me see. Does anybody else saying anything? The court of public opinion, Tati is way ahead. Yes. And Shane and Pariahs and KJ is shooting herself in the foot. Yeah, I think KJ is shooting herself in the foot, but I think if you ask me right now who's winning the case, obviously I'm going to say Tati. I think Tati is winning the case based on the filings, the quality of the filings, understand the law, and the responses to Brown's filings. I think I would say as a legal analysis, I think Tati is definitely winning. I think as a legal perspective, I think KJ should win. So I think I should separate that. Tati is winning, right? It's like she's up by 2 points, but I think KJ should win when you just look at the way the law is in these particular cases. What do you think about the Black community? What do you think the Black community needs most? Money and opportunity to shrink the wealth gap between African Americans and their white counterparts. The average white household has $250,000, $250,000 worth of wealth. The average Black household has like $15,000 worth of wealth. Shrink that, and I think that's the number one thing that you need. The Black community needs. They need to have wealth, and a lot of that is just from things like redlining and things of that nature. So, if you're asking me what would be best for the Black community, it's to shrink that wealth gap between their white counterparts. That'll probably be the one thing that I would say would best be helpful to the Black community. That gap between African Americans and their Caucasian counterparts is unbelievably horrible, and it needs to be addressed, but nobody's addressing them. So whatever. But that's what thanks for the question. Support exactly, Nate. Thank you. And thanks for this $5 super chat. Yeah, redlining. Yeah. That's how you were able to build a middle class. I can't believe KJ still has so many subs, members, supporters. Yeah, but that's going to happen. That's just going to happen. Cranial. Then why does the Black community make themselves more competitive to gain wealth? Again, this is off topic, but it's not about making yourself competitive, right? If I go to the race and you tell me I can't start until after the other person gets halfway, gets to the finish line, then there's nothing I can do about that. That's what redlining is. Look up redlining. Look up redlining and what redlining was and how it and how the gap, and then we can have a more fulfilling conversation, because there's a difference between people not being able to do it. There's a difference between people not doing it and the government suppressing it so you can't do it. So I think that's so look up redlining, and then we can have a better conversation. But this is about the Tati Westbrook case. So those questions I'm not going to be able to answer, but think about it in that. Look up redlining and see what happened, and then we can discuss after that. I'm on the next stream. 100%. Okay. So now, soon it's funny because this stream is supposed to be about a whole bunch of different stuff, but it's just all about KJP. So at the end of the day, I want to ask you guys, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen today? I think judge is going to come in. She's going to say, everybody stop all this nonsense. Shut up. Let's focus in on what the real goal is. This motion to dismiss. We're going to schedule. Probably going to schedule a date for that, and then when that comes down, we'll all figure out what happens. So, here we go. Let me put this. Nate the lawyer, did you see the guy who said that blacks should make it back to the South? Well, actually, it's a remigration back to the South in order to gain more influence and support black businesses. I think that's actually happening now. There's a lot of good indications that actually African Americans are moving from the North back to the South, and the higher the populations down there, which is interesting phenomenon in itself. But again, it's outside of the scope of this. But I think that's interesting. Perjury is KJ's issue. I don't know. It's perjury. It's pretty hard to prove if you say one thing but you're mistaken, and this. I don't know. It's going to be perjury is usually they don't. People say things that are wrong and lie all the time in litigation. So I don't know about perjury. Perjury for KJP is my man Drag. There is no monolithic black community. Facts. People should educate themselves before suggesting opinions on a topic they don't understand. Those are facts too. But I do think that we can all generally say that there's issues that we can all generally, I think, agree with. And I think the wealth gap between blacks and whites is definitely something that we can all agree with, that needs to be addressed. Especially the fact that you had the government helping one race at the expense of another race. That actually happened. So I think Dragnot is correct, but I do think that we can speak about these things, in the abstract, and say, this would be best, because that's what the government tries to do, right? The government is trying to help everybody instead of just one or two individuals. They're trying to figure out what the best way to do that is. So, but I agree with the comment. All right. So we've spent an hour. We've talked about really just Halo Beauty. Right, that's what we're talking about. We finished with Halo Beauty. I tried to make sense of it. Oh, the last thing about this Halo Beauty case before I move forward, with the Halo Beauty case, the reason why I honestly think that KJP has a better case is because, and if you law nerds who are here from Emily's stream, or anybody here who wants to look it up, look up the Tucker Carlson case, and also look up the Rachel Maddow case. Those are two defamation cases on people who are public figures, and they are from commentary channels. Now, this adds another layer of protection, which I didn't say earlier, to this conversation. KJP's channel is a commentary channel. She talks about the Duggars and all this other stuff. And in those cases, both Tucker Carlson and Rachel Maddow's case, the court gave a lot of weight to the context in which it was said. It said that these opinion shows or commentary channels are like comedians, more or less. When a comedian gets up and he says something crazy like, oh, this person is a killer, is a murderer, no reasonable person would believe that person is a killer or a murderer, right? Because it's coming from an opinion show and a commentary channel. And they said things like that were factually incorrect. Like Tucker Carlson said that a woman committed extortion, and Rachel Maddow said that a company was, paid by the Russians to do something. Right? Those were factually wrong statements. But the court made a point to say that even though these statements were factually incorrect, the fact that they were made in a commentary, channel, was even more protective of the issues. And that's kind of where we're at here. Katie Joy's channel, I think, is a commentary channel. I know she says I'm a journalist, and Sean Hannity says that he's a journalist, right? But at the end of the day, they're commentary channels. And commentary channels are given a little bit more license to give opinions. And if she's out there giving opinions on commentary on public figures, it's going to make it even more, it's going to make her even more protected. So that's why I think Halo Beauty has a huge hurdle to overcome with the type of channel we're talking about, with all this, and you just keep getting to get more. But what I do think on Halo Beauty side and Tati's side, I think what they do have that makes that doesn't make me think that KJ can win easily, or that let me back that up, that KJ can win outright. is the fact that they did give her those cease and desists. And those cease and desists do go to the actual malice standard, right? That, hey, we gave her these cease and desists. She still said them again, show these are false statements. So that gets you that even though she said it, we told her it was false, and she said it again, then like she knew the truth and then said it anyway. So I think that may be something in there where Tati's side can point to, right? We told her it was fake. It's kind of like the same thing was going on with Giuliani and Dominion voting systems, where Dominion sent them letters and saying, here's exactly how all your statements are false. And then, right? And then when they rewound back, they said all these statements are false. And then Giuliani went and still said the statements anyway. So that was their way of showing actual malice. So that's what I'm talking about. All right, is a super chat from Kane. I keep forgetting. I know it's Photo Cinema. Is it Cranman Photo Cinema? $10. Immigrants come here from unfair circumstances and start behind all the time. Facts, including the Irish for centuries ago. Okay, yeah, the paddy wagons, for instance. Why do we coddle the Black community and act as if they can't be competitive? Well, two things. The Irish weren't, they weren't actually suppressed in the same way as the Black community was, right? Because, and again, this is when we're talking about things like the Great Migration, right? I think one thing that this comment is missing is understanding that when Blacks did go from the first Great Migration in the 20s, when they went to places like New York, where there was a heavy Irish population, it was still the African Americans that went there were still suppressed. And then we were talking about redlining, particularly redlining. Understand redlining. Redlining, the Irish citizens were given given the opportunities. So again, I think I understand the point you're trying to make, that people come from other countries and immigrants come and start behind, but you have to also understand that the federal government in the United States actively and independently suppressed Black people from gaining wealth. That was what they did. These aren't even in facts in dispute, right? That's why I keep saying you have to really go look up redlining and see exactly what was going on and how the government actively suppressed Black people from gaining wealth, and how if you were Black and moved into a white community, it was so bad, the suppression was so bad that, let's say if a Black person did get a whole bunch of money and then wanted to move to a white community, then what they did was say that community couldn't get housing loans, secured housing loans anymore. So that's what I'm talking about. Someone coming and doing well is one thing, but the government actively suppressing Black people from gaining wealth is a whole different circumstance. And I think you need to understand that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the government actively suppressing the African American citizens from gaining wealth. That's different than coming over here and starting from behind. That's the difference. Let's see. Getting paid for addressing ignorance. No, we were having a conversation. Drag is getting testy. Are you suggesting the Blacks today are worse off than the shape than the Italians 100 years ago, being actively oppressed today? No, I'm saying things have consequences, right? If your grandmother, if we didn't let them buy houses and gain wealth, 50 years ago, and then we now think about this. Things have consequences. 50 years ago, redlining was going on. 60 years ago, redlining was going on. People weren't able to generate wealth, right? So white people had no money, Black people had no money. Now we're talking about 60 years later, $250,000 to $15,000 based on that suppression. That's what we're talking about. So yes, I believe that Blacks are worse off today because of what happened back then. You can't just say because it's not happening today, that means what happened before doesn't have any effect. Of course it does. The person's question shows how the American education system has failed. The fact that he doesn't know these things are mind-boggling to me. But then again, most Americans probably don't. there's a battle like on TV. Yeah. Because again, we want to make it very clear. What the argument here is not that African Americans today are being suppressed in the same way. There's no redlining going on today, right? But there was redlining going on 60 years ago. And now that one part of society has gained all that wealth based on those same policies, then you can't say, well, today you're better off. But you're not. You're actually worse off because you didn't get those particular benefits. Thanks for answering. Appreciate it. Oh, anytime. But again, I like having these discussions because I think we should address them, because when you're talking about things that happened in the 50s and 60s and how they affect Black citizens today, that's true. And it's a combination of things over time that happens. And that's why I think, and just look at the numbers, the reason why more Black people live in poverty and more Black people are susceptible to the criminal justice system is because of these policies of wealth suppression back in the 60s and 70s. When your parents can't buy a house and have to rent, think about this. If it's 1950, I know I'm moving to another topic, but let's say it's the 1950s, right? Let's say it's the 1950s, and my parents can't buy a house, right? But your parents can, and they buy a house and it's backed by the government. So they pay off that house in 30 years and now have a house that's worth $500,000. I had to rent, right? My parents had to rent. So when your parents leave you $500,000, a $500,000 home, so you can start your life, and my parents leave me an apartment that I'm renting, then you've just got $500,000 worth of wealth, and I got nothing. I gotta pay somebody else to rent, to live in their stuff. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking about in building wealth. And the government actively suppressed it and said Black people couldn't buy homes in that way. They wouldn't be supported while white people would. That's how it started, and that's why we're suffering today with this inequity. And again, you can just see that with the numbers. Sorry. I'm sorry. You as a Black man have answered my questions. These questions. This information is everywhere. People need to stop using their Black friends for information on racism. I don't get this. I don't get this super chat. I'm sorry. You as a Black man have to answer these questions. No, I think it's fine, because I think that's the only way we can talk about it, right? That's the only way we can get over it, if we answer the questions and explain to people why when we say these things, right? We say that there's a problem and we need to fix these things. It's because some people just don't know, and some people and if someone asks a question and you answer it and it's a factual issue, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I appreciate all the questions, and I appreciate the back and forth. I just do. Sorry, but you're wrong about what happened to the Irish. Okay, because it happened to both. And Black men got the right to vote before women. True. And most states, women were their husband's property. Facts. But again, like even with this, Blacks got the right to vote. Yeah, but you forget about like the Jim Crow South. You forget about the voting test. You forget about the Voting Rights Act. Those things just happened in the 60s, brother. I'm Tina. Those things just happened in the 60s, right? Why do we need a Voting Rights Act? Black people had the right to vote since the Civil War, right? But we needed a Voting Rights Act, right? We had a voting test. We had active suppression of Black people. Think about this. The South, the laws against Black people in the South were so bad that when Hitler and the Germans wanted to suppress the Jews in Germany, you know where they went? They went to the South and saw the way, and they said, well, damn, like that shit they're doing to the Black people are insane. And their Nuremberg laws, which everybody in history thinks are the most oppressive and worst laws, were fashioned off of the laws in the South. The laws in the South were worse than Nuremberg laws. That's how insane things got. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. So just because Blacks have had the right to vote, that just leaves out all the history about the suppression of the right to vote. Again, think about it. Voter suppression is something that everybody knows happened in the South. You can't just say they had the right to vote. Yeah, they had the right to vote. Then you had to take a test that or it's crazy. I just think people have to understand the history of this. Yeah, you had the right to vote, but you didn't really have the right to vote. That's I think that is understating it, just to say the least. It's almost at the point of being misleading. My Irish ancestors were indentured servants. They were white. able to slide into majority society, it's because it became unacceptable to oppress other whites long before black skinned folks were legally recognized as humans. Yeah, Timothy makes an excellent point. Excellent point. And it just makes sense, right? Oppressed Irish myth was debunked by that's true. That's true. That's true. The oppressed Irish myth. And don't forget, they were all the cops. That's why in New York City, they were all civil servants up here, right? People are saying the Irish were so depressed. They were civil servants. They were the cops. They were the firefighters. That's why they're called paddy wagons, right? Because all the cops, the O'Reillys and the O'Learys, they were all the civil servants. You know, those white people were getting good government jobs. You know, they weren't called black wagons. Some viewers might be repeating bootstraps over and over. It's a simple dig into history would kill these arguments. Yeah, but the thing is that you want to have an open discussion where people can bring you these arguments. You can explain to them how you feel about them, and then we can have a discussion. You know, just because we're saying one issue or we believe, or I believe there's nuance to these issues doesn't mean that people bringing these you know, you want people to bring forth these arguments because you want to say, you know, maybe I could be wrong, but this is what I've learned. This is the research I've done. And hopefully people can look into it themselves. Americans don't understand history and the plight of minorities. That's facts. Sounds like this country is just working just as planned. Well, possibly, but I think we're all working to a more perfect union, right? And you know, to say that, I think there's a balance. To say that black people were in the same position as we were 50 years ago, even 100 years ago, that's incorrect, right? We're in a different position. But I think the position that we're in now is based off that history, right? And we're trying to make a more perfect union. So I do agree. I think history can answer a lot of these questions, but I think where do we go from here is the next piece of it. And I 100% I definitely agree. I think the problem is now people think we're all equal, we're all the same. But that's just not, it's true in practice, but not true in substance. And again, look at, you know, crime rates, wealth rates. You know, if you look at every indicator of success of any minority group, you can point to and say, yes, here's all the indicators, and African Americans are at the bottom. But then you can also point back to where the government is the cause all that, you know, wealth gap. You point to stuff like redlining, law enforcement, you can point to things like, you know, you can point to things like the black codes and things like nature, the reason why blacks are more incarcerated and unfair law enforcement, like all those indicators, you can point to how the government helped perpetuate that. And that's what people are saying. Like, you know, we're trying to overcome government oppression. And people are saying, well, you're not being oppressed by the government now. Facts. But you can't just say, well, you were oppressed by the government for 400 years, now get over it. You know, you got to say, well, how are we going to make it so you guys can now be integrated into society and given, you know, the proper, you know, African Americans should be able to buy houses got backed by government loans. It happened to white people for years, right? It should be available to black people. You know, it should be available to try to close that wealth gap. These are things that should happen because it's just the right thing to do. It shouldn't be a black or white issue. It should be what's right and what's wrong. If I know I'm suppressing people because of their race, and now the suppression is over, I can't just walk away and say, okay, well, I ended the suppression. Now we got to help these people get to the point where it's not still not an evil, where at least they have a shot of being equal, you know? So I don't know. It's a long, more complicated question. All right, so I have to go in a couple of minutes, but let's talk about Gamestop before we can get out of, so we don't get into the so we don't have to stay with the whole racial tone of it. But I don't know how the market is doing right now. Let me see. Oh, Tina, you missed the plot by a mile. You guys are arguing in the chat. Let me not get involved with that. So I'm gonna have to cut this off because I'm gonna get my kids ready for their school and try to do this. Hold the line. I don't know, bro. I don't know. This is it. It's AMC stock. I was holding it. I'm holding it. I'm still holding it. I got it at 10. I think I got it at $10. So I'm still up on AMC, but that stock hits 20. I'm out. Right. I'm out at 20. I'm hoping it tanks again because I'll buy it up when it's low again. But I might be out on AMC. GameStop, I was, but I'm not buying that $200 a share. If you guys want to just lose money, that's it. But I don't know. It's a carousel. Sorry. The last thing I want to talk about is the last thing I want to bring up before I get out of here. Well, no, actually, I'm about to get out of here, so I don't want to get into that long discussion. But I hope you guys like the stream. So we talked about what I thought about Halo Beauty, what I thought about the case, why I think everything that's going on now is crazy. If you want to go back and look at that conversation earlier, please do. My name is Nate the Lawyer. Thank you for watching. I do this show 10 o'clock. I'm going to be doing it Tuesdays and Thursdays. 10 o'clock, just going over some of the hot topics. I'll do this again Thursday. I have a Wednesday night show with Uncivil Law. It's going to be in his channel this Wednesday. And I'm probably going to see if I can get Viva and some other people on the channel so we can just talk about some hot topics once in a while. But again, thanks for everybody who super chatted. Thanks for everybody who showed up today to watch. And I do want to say at the end of the day, you know, I think we do need to have a discussion about race, the history of it, what's happening now with it, and how can we move forward. And I think we should have a conversation about it. And I think that conversation has to be both educating both sides to misnomers, to things that are false, but then also trying to understand how we move forward. Because no matter what happens, the goal is to make a more perfect union, to make a more perfect society for us all. So your children and my children can have the same opportunities as they. And if we can do that, that's the goal. But the goal we have to get there through facts, and we have to get there through truth, right? We can't get there if one side is have their set of facts, the other side has their set of facts, then that's not going to work out. We all have to be working from the same set of facts. And I think that's the key point in this whole in the whole issue with race. And not talking past each other, but trying to talk to each other. And I think if you really want to understand the Black experience just 50 or 60 years ago, do this. Go look at the Black codes. Just type in the Black codes or pig laws of things of that nature that happened during the South. And it'll give you a better perspective of what Black people had to overcome just 70 years ago, 60 years ago, in the 60s and the 70s. Also look at things like redlining. And you'll see that these things weren't some things that happened generations ago, or, these are things that happened pretty recent in history. And this is things that people are trying to overcome now so we can have a more perfect union. So I'm hoping that people understand that, and people just do some research. Yes, they're called pig laws. They're called pig laws. Just so people don't understand, pig laws were part of the Black Code. It got so crazy that if you were Black and you were unemployed, they would send you to jail. And your jail, and like for instance, in Louisiana, all the jails were on plantation fields. So if you were Black, they would send you to jail and put you on a plantation field. And because they needed children to help run some of the mills and stuff, some of the machinery, they needed children. Check this out. I use this in one of my videos. This is in Louisiana. What they would do is take Black children and put them into prison camps. So if it's insane, you're probably going to be. It's horrible what happened. I think we as this is trying to. I just want to educate people on what is going on. Hold on. Black. Let me see if I can find it. Here's a picture, a famous picture. Here it is. So I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see it. Probably lost most people here, but I want to pull this up because I think it's very important for you guys to see, since we're talking about this. But this is a picture of children who are convict leased. Should I zoom? No, I can't zoom. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit so you guys can see it. Yes, here we go. So can you guys see this on the screen? All right. So what this was this convict leasing. So if you were during the Black Codes and during the Jim Crow era, if black children were found in a playground on the street, um, they would be arrested by police officers and charged with crimes. Not being because don't forget it was illegal for them to be it was illegal for them to be educated. Then it was illegal for them to be out during the daytime. So there was a whole bunch of different laws. So what cops would do is go and round up black children, and these are black children who were sent to plantations to work off their crimes to society. And this is what happened. So just so everybody understands that these were children that were being sent to prison camps to work off their debt to society. And that's what you're seeing here on the screen. So, this is some of the things that I'm speaking about when I talk about, the black experience in America. This wasn't, this was in the 1900s. This is Louisiana. All right. And then what they would do is they would take these children and they would do this lease of a convict. You need children to work on your plantation. Well, guess what? These people are working off their crimes. So here you go. And they would send them to different plantations. So this was American society. And again, the Germans replicated this in Germany against the Jews. So, this is what all this was about. And this is what I think people need to understand is that the American system has been built up on this. And now we're trying to change that system, right? We're trying to change. Black people have been criminalized in this country for the past 200 years. And their children have been criminalized, right? Their children were criminalized. These are children. They were criminalized. They were criminalized to the point where where they were put in jumpsuits, and they weren't taken to school. They were taken to prisons. They weren't being taught. They were working. Why? Because that is what our country was about. That's not today. We're different today. Today, that's unacceptable. Today, that's not right. But the suffering that the Black and minority communities go through are direct results from that. Now, things are different, but understand that wasn't too long ago. So with that said, my name is Nate. If you like what you heard and you liked this stream, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and if you can, hit a subscribe if you haven't already done so. I will see you guys in probably a couple hours on Uncivil Law stream. I hope you guys learned something today. And seem like we need to do a stream about just race in America, which we will do. And I'll see if I can get a couple of people on so we can talk about it. So we will see. And I think the argument that we have to talk about is it's funny because a lot of my conservative friends say, well, today you're not being oppressed. That was X time ago. But I think today people will say, well, yeah, that oppression, 50, 60 years ago has led to the situation that we're in now. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. And hopefully we can have this conversation because I think it needs to be had. Well, listen, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys like this stream, and I will be talking to you later. My name is Nate.